Just want to say good evening to everyone that is joining me on this live stream. Doesn't look like we have too many people as of just yet. I know it's maybe a strange time as maybe some people are watching the Super Bowl here as we're doing this live stream. So I'll just give it a little bit of time, but I want to thank the person. And actually, now it looks like we have a couple more people that are currently on this live stream. So thank you guys for taking time out of your Sunday to join me on this live stream as we are going to be talking about not only 992.2 GT3, but we're also going to be talking about kind of the history of the GT cars here at Porsche. So we have a pretty big slideshow. I won't take up too much of your guys' time, of course, because maybe you guys are spending time with family and maybe watching the Super Bowl, maybe not. I'm not the biggest football fan, so I figured this may be a good time for people that aren't. Maybe you can join me as I think the Super Bowl is maybe going into the fourth quarter. So hopefully all of us can maybe like bounce some ideas off of each other and also learn more about the 992.2 GT3 and just the history of the GT3. So let's go ahead and go over some of the questions that I have popping up here. This live stream is for the first time on YouTube as well as Instagram. I successfully did it this time, so I'm pretty excited. We are going to have a chance to do a giveaway for some items here as we go through these slides that I have prepared for us. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be 2 different items if you guys answer the questions correctly. So the first person to do so, it's kind of halfway through or maybe a little bit more than halfway through this live stream that I will be doing that. So I'm going to try to be bouncing back and forth between Instagram and here just to make sure that everyone is having their chance. So looks like somebody's joining from Garden Grove. Thank you, Mr. Sean. Everything is great. That's a great question. I probably can go through a little bit of some of that today. I did build a guideline book where I actually do go through every single option virtually on the 911 GTS, kind of going from A to Z. And I even go over what each options are, how do they operate. So I'll be actually talking about that, but I can certainly try to go through a quick build towards the end of this portion here. Great question. How long is the list for the new GT3? I would say it's very difficult to get a GT3, so it's, I would say, pretty long. It's just very hard to get. You have to, for the most part, at most stores have bought previous cars and just kind of have a solid relationship with your dealership. So it's tough, but it's not impossible, which is great. So it looks like we got some comments here from Fish Taco 95. So it looks like the Super Bowl is almost over. So looks like it, from what I saw, it was a pretty big blowout. So without further ado, let's get into the slides I prepared. Carson, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Saw that you're here. Looks like you're here on Instagram. So thank you. How are the 2025 911 sales? We haven't seen a bunch of the cars yet. I think it maybe has slowed down, especially since 992.1. I mean, that was an interesting time for that car when it first got launched too. It was kind of COVID time, but it hasn't had as much interest as maybe I remember having in the past. So I'd say maybe it's down. Still difficult to get, but it is down. It's going to be interesting to see what happens too, because I don't know if you guys saw, there was an article that came out yesterday, the day before. I want to say Motor One spoke with Porsche, and it looks like they're going to be backtracking on a lot of their electric vehicles and either going hybrid or going back to internal combustion. Maybe we'll talk about that as part of this live stream, but not a drastic amount. That's a good question. I feel like people are choosing to purchase pre-owned cars, maybe more, because that in terms of those sales, they have certainly gone up opposed to previous years. So if you look at the sales data from last year, there was a lot more pre-owned cars being sold than new cars. I don't know, maybe just because of the price point, maybe that could be why, but I don't have the exact data on that. So that could be it. Rick Sanchez, is the 992.2 turbo going to be hybrid? Yes, that is currently the plan. I know they're currently testing the car. Last I heard, that was currently the plan. I don't think they're going to change it because they weren't planning on making that car go full electric. The Macan EV, of course, is all electric, but there's some rumors that they're maybe going to take that platform and make it an all hybrid, or even back to an internal combustion car. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I would say no, there really isn't a drastic wait list. I guess it all depends on like what your market is. But if it's a larger dealer, probably isn't maybe a drastic wait list for the new car. So without further ado, let's get into the GT3. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then we can certainly get back to your guys' questions. So let me just pop open these slides here that I've had. So give me just 1 second as I get the slides prepared. I'm going to be trying to bounce back and forth between multiple pages here. So let's see. For some reason, I cannot get my slideshow to go. There we go. Perfect. So the evolution of the Porsche 911 GT3, and then we're going to be talking about 992.2, as of course that's kind of the hot topic here with the new car launched a couple months ago. A lot of the YouTubers and journalists were able to get their hands on it, so you're seeing videos come out now where they had the chance to drive this new GT3. So I figured, without further ado, why don't we just do a live stream and talk about it, since I haven't had my chance to get my hands on the car quite yet. Now, if you're making comments, I'm going to try to pop back into some of these screens as they're not linking for me. And looks like Carson had a question. Are you for or against back seats for the new Touring? Myself, I probably would not get back seats, Carson, and I'd probably put the carbon roll cage there in the back. So I would probably say I probably wouldn't get the back seats for that car. But we'll talk about it. So what's the evolution of the GT3 here at Porsche? Of course, we've had quite a few different generations of the GT3. We're not going to be talking about any previous RS models like 964 RS or even 993 RS. It's mostly just a GT3. So of course, we've had 4 different generations of the 911 GT3, starting here with 996, working our way to 997, and then several different iterations inside of each of these. So we're going to briefly talk about it, what came as part of each generation. And it's been an absolute track weapon here for the last 26 years. So it's pretty incredible. It's even been around that long. But first, let's talk about the people behind the cars. So there's pretty much 2 main players here since the last 26 years that have been major players in the GT3s. And the first one, his name is going to be Ronald Kussmaul. He was the engineer behind the 996 GT3, but not only did he do a lot of 996 GT3 things, he did a lot of test driver way before 996 GT3. To be honest, that was kind of towards the end of his 40-year career. As you can see, he was instrumental in the success of the 959, 964, GT1. There's our 40 years, 1969 to 2009. But his role in creating the 996 GT3, he wanted to create a road legal race car that could also serve as a homologation model for racing. And his vision was the GT3, one of Porsche's most iconic models, of course. He set the foundation for future Porsche GT cars, not only the GT3 RS that later came as part of the 996 generation, but also probably one of my favorite cars. I always bounce back and forth with my favorite cars that I've ever driven is 911R, GT3 RS 4.0, but he was very kind of instrumental in helping this next gentleman we're going to talk about build the 911R. So we've got the 996 GT3 was the first to break an 8-minute lap time, which is absolutely incredible that it was able to do that. Now, of course, here is Ronald back in the day with the 959 off-road car. So there he was. Just have some older photos for you guys. And then there is more of a recent photo. This is kind of early 2000s there with Jörg Bergmeister. Of course, he was a long-time Porsche race car driver and now more of a spokesperson for Porsche. And he does a lot of the test driving for a lot of these new cars, as well as this 992.2 GT3. I saw a question come through there. It looks like on the live stream, have I driven the 992.2? Yes. I've not driven the GT3, but I have driven the 992.2, 911 in general. So I'll try to get to them. If I don't, get to these questions, I'll certainly get to them towards the end of this slideshow. So the ultimate person here that I would love to meet at some point in my lifetime would be Andreas Pointinger. He is the GT man. So he's a nice, very nice guy, tall, skinny German guy, and him and his team are the masters here behind all of these recent GT cars. Kind of more towards the end of 996 GT3, he came in, but he's been ahead of the Porsche's GT division since 997. So he's been doing it quite a while. As you can see, he took over for Ronald. He's very passionate about driver engagement, lightweight engineering, and of course, motorsports technology. And here's some of his impacts on the GT3 legacy. So, of course, we had the introduction of PASM with the 997 GT3, a little bit more refined aerodynamics and more track focused. In 2013, as a 991.1, we had rear wheel steering came to the GT3, and we also had PDK only. So we had that. And then, of course, later brought back the manual here for 992.1. First to have double wishbone front suspension, swan neck, and enhanced aerodynamics. And then, of course, created the GT3 Touring as after the 911R in 2016. There was a lot of interest for a manual transmission 911 without a rear wing. So they tried to make that car part of it, maybe because the market at first was crazy on the 911R. So that was kind of its smaller brother. Of course, not a limited run car, but ultimately end up being kind of the successor to the 911R for a short period of time. Now we have, of course, the 911 ST. And then he's also expanded the GT market. We've got the GT4, GT4 RS, all kinds of other GT cars, GT2 RS. So he was very instrumental. And Andreas Pointinger, if you ever watch this video, I would love to meet you, hopefully at some point. We've got 996 GT3. This is kind of the origin. We'll briefly talk about this here, but of course, this car was launched at the Geneva International Motor Show in 1999. There was two different marks, so Mark 1, Mark 2. Kind of, you can see some of the differences there. 360 horsepower for the first gen, 381, kind of pumped it up there for the second gen car. 6-speed manual, of course, and first car, like we talked about a couple slides ago, first to go sub 8 minutes. And of course, the car rev to an incredible amount, 7,800 for the first car, 8,800 for the second car. And of course, now it's even higher than that. And here's just some of the specs. 0 to 60 for the Mark 1 was 4.8, or 62, excuse me, and 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 4.5. This was the first car also to offer PCCBs or Porsche ceramic composite brakes, was the 996.2 GT3. Of course, that's the car being launched there. That's also one of the cup cars there, or the Super Cups. But this was at the Geneva Motor Show again in 1999. Crazy to think about how long ago that was. But that's what we've got. Now, I like to talk about market analysis on these live streams, as well as if you guys haven't had a chance to sign up for my newsletter, you can go to Pcarwhisperer.com. At the top, there's going to be a free newsletter. It's as easy as just putting your first, last name, and email. And then I do that once a month. And I really like to talk about market analysis on a lot of these cars. So we're going to show you guys a little graph here and kind of how are the sales doing for first generation 996 GT3s. You can see that they're still holding pretty well. The line's been pretty steady here for the last couple years, as you can see. So we're going all the way back to kind of 2021, all the way till now. Pretty steady. It's been around, average sales about 75 grand. So all kind of depends on the miles of the car. There's not a lot of these cars on the market. So you can see every little dot for the most part is every single car. Of course, if it's not, if it has not been, put on a public website and it's more traded, kind of under the radar, would not go on here. But you can kind of see top sale was about 92 grand. So it's like, again, it's held pretty well over the last couple of years. So that's 996.1. 996.2, about 100 grand, 6 figures. A lot more of those cars out there. You can kind of see has steadily risen since 2021 or 2020. Average sales are about 100 grand, with the top sale being about a 142. This is 0405 cars. So most recent cars sold at about $80,000. So been pretty strong market. Again, there's a lot less dots on there for the first gen car. Didn't build near as many of them either, but second gen car, a lot of sold, and a pretty solid market, really. 997.1 is what we've got here, as well as the 0.2. So, of course, that came in 06. First car with PASM, or Porsche Active Suspension Management. It's the ability to change any of the dampening. You can still do that today on all the cars that come equipped with it. We've got the Mark 1 to Mark 2. We increased the engine size and it went up to 435 horsepower. Of course, Metzger, very, very famous engine. Last car to actually have the Metzger was the 997.2 GT3. RS models introduced with more track focus. So, of course, we had 997.1 GT3 RS and the 0.2. We, of course, had the 3.8 and the 4-liter. Last GT3 with hydraulic steering. So that was 991. It was changed to electrical steering. Then, of course, we were starting to slowly creep up there on the max RPMs, which is a big characteristic of the GT3. So we had 8,400 for Mark 1, 8,500 for Mark 2. And then we've got the amount of total produced. So you can see there's not that many, really. 3,329 for 997.1 and just over 2,200 for the 0.2 generation. So very, very low. 0 to 60, of course, or 62 did increase to 4.3. Mark 2, 4.1. And it's the first time that center locks were offered for 997.2 GT3. The 0.1 did not have it. They still had the standard 5-lug setup, but they went to that. Now, of course, we've got Walter Roll. There's that 5-lug setup we just talked about with the 997.1 GT3. So what does a market analysis look like? It's incredible what the car has done, to be honest with you. There's not a lot currently on the market. It shows about 2 cars currently for sale, 07 or 08s. Average sales 135, which is crazy to think about. I remember when these cars were well under 100 grand. But now the top sale here was $170,000. It's kind of an outlier, but it's pretty insane. In the last 12 months, 16 total sales. The cars are transacting for about 135 on average. Now this, just want to make sure, you know what, that says 97.1, but it's actually 0.2. So excuse me for that. Forgot to update that portion. So this would be, again, 97.2, crazy. Look at the market. It's slowly been rising since 2020. Maybe should have had that graph go back a little bit further, but you can see average sales 162 grand for the second generation. Again, not many cars, 2,200. They don't come on the market very often. The last year, 14 public sales, and we got a top sale of about 218 grand. So pretty nuts what that car has done. And of course, was thought to be the last manual before the PDK revolution here in the 991.1 GT3. So, of course, there's the no manual option. Mark 1, Mark 2, we went from 3.8 to 4.0. Of course, those 3.8 cars did have some issues. So most of those are kind of coming to the end of their 10-year extended engine warranty. So maybe nab those cars up and maybe get the motor replaced if there's any issues before the end of that extended warranty, because there's some 2016s floating around 991.1, but not very many. Of course, rear wheel steering or rear axle steering, and then the first car to have electric steering. Some people, when the first car came out, were pretty scared. They didn't think there was going to be a lot of feeling in that electric steering, but I think Andreas Pointinger and his team didn't necessarily prove people wrong, but you still had a lot of feel coming from the car. 991.2 brought back the manual due to the enthusiast demand. Of course, we also had the launch of the Touring for 991.2. Nürburgring Nordschleife time was 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So well below the initial GT3 time, which was, I think, what was it say, 7:56. So pretty drastic. And then, of course, we brought back the manual. There's our introduction of the Touring model. First time 0 to 60s dropped below 4 seconds. So we had 3.5 and 3.4 for Mark 1 and Mark 2. That's for the GT3, of course. Here's our point. There's a 0.2 right there. Here's our market analysis. Has dropped a little bit. These cars tend to be kind of stuck at the 130s, which, to be honest, a well-spec car about 10 years ago, we were 145, 150. Crazy to think about that, but they haven't dipped much. You can see it's been a pretty steady market. 26 total public sales last year. Top sale was 135. I can see people are starting to ask that again, to be honest, kind of in that 130 range. All depends on the miles, of course, but this is just our market data. So pretty strong data. 0.2 market analysis, very strong still. Look at all those sales, all those dots. So we've had a lot, 60 total sales in the last 12 months, almost $200,000 average. Pretty incredible. And 286 was the top sale. So you can tell by all these graphs and the market analysis that the GT3s have been doing very well. There's still really only one generation that's down below the six-figure marker, and that would be 996. Everything else is holding incredibly well, partially probably because the price of the cars kind of keeps going up. So it's kind of pulling up these older gen cars. 992 GT3, pretty big jump in overall lap times for this car, double wishbone front suspension, touring spec. There's our 6:55 Nürburgring lap time. Mark 1 was 3.2, virtually the same now at about 3.1 seconds for the 992.2 GT3. Market analysis, you can see, again, holding very well at 228. MSRPs on these cars, high ones, if not low twos, all depends on the spec. Top sale, 276. So 17 total sales. Again, this is more public data, kind of across the world for the most part. That's what classic.com has. There's sales on there from Bring a Trailer, Pcar Market, Collecting Cars. That's a UK website. So all kinds of different sales data. So what are some of the exciting new options on the 992.2 GT3? We're going to go over what are some of the highlights that I believe are pretty important here on this new car that make it so special. So here's a graph kind of showing you what are some of the differences. Of course, here, point number 3, going to show you a lot bigger intake. We're going to talk about this later for the radiator cooling as well as the brake cooling. Porsche did away with that little turn signal down there. They did change the styling there. That front bumper turn signal is now integrated into the headlight, whether you get the LED matrix standard headlights or you get the HD matrix lights. So completely up to you, but they did do away with that turn signal. So that's kind of an important part there. Of course, we've got the carbon fiber reinforced hood. We had that last gen. Those aluminum wheels, which those are the mag wheels on this car. So I'm trying to see what else we've got. Pretty similar styling to the previous generation, but they certainly did switch it up. The end plates, number 9 there on the back, are finished in carbon fiber. Of course, that's with the Weissach package. So there is some certain upgrades. That's going to bring me to another point. First GT3 to offer a Weissach package. So you can see right there, Weissach package offered. We've got the carbon fiber roll cage, not in the United States. Hood, rear wing, anti-roll bars, and the rear coupling rods. And then, of course, you can also get the magnesium wheels with the carbon bucket seats. You can see how much of a weight savings that is, 48 pounds. This is the lightest 992 to be launched as of 992.2 yet. ST was the lightest 992 pretty much up till now. Touring offered with rear seats for the first time. I know Carson had that question. I'll be coming back to you guys' questions once I'm done with my slideshow here. But I probably wouldn't get it, to be honest, on the touring, because I would want to put a cage in the back, even if it's just a touring car, not as much of a track focused car. So of course, there's our option for the Weissach package in the Leichtbau, or lightweight, translated from German to English, offered for the GT3 for the first time. So here's our trivia question. I always get pretty excited about this. This is what's up for grabs. It's a paint to sample box. This is actually a 2022 when we saw a lot of paint to sample cars. So it's a complete, has pretty much all the colors, about 120 colors or so in there. So this is up for grabs, which I love these. So again, this is, whoever answers the question first is going to win that. So I'm going to be going back and forth here to Instagram. And then we're also going to go Rick Lambert. Yes, I'm with you. GT3 for you and me both, hopefully. So let's see who's going to win this guy. So let's see. Let's answer the question here. What was the first Porsche to offer the Leichtbau package? What was the model type, the year, and what was the engine size? It's kind of significant for the cars. It's a little bit different than some of the other cars. Put your answer in the comments. First to guess correctly is going to win this guy, and I'll just get it sent out to you guys. So let's see. What was the first car to offer the Leichtbau package. So I'm going to be trying to keep track here of all the cars. This is um, kind of tough because I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a lot of stuff. So it looks like we got some answers here. 991.1 GT3. Unfortunately, Mr. Fish Taco, that is not correct. So if you guys want to keep throwing those out there, again, there's the question. See what we've got. So again, paint to sample is up for grabs. Let's go back to Instagram. I'm not seeing the correct answer first. A hint is there was only 86 of these cars ever produced. And it's a throwback. The car is an air-cooled car. And the cars sell for well in the 7 figures in terms of the pricing. So it's pretty crazy and pretty rare how the car is. Mr. Muir, thank you for joining. I see you're on the live stream here on Instagram. 93 RS. Carson, great guess. You're close, but we're no cigar. Very, very close. Fish Taco, looks like you got a GT1. We're going air-cooled, so a little bit older than that. Mr. Twazon, see that you're on the live stream. What do you think? Can you answer the question for this paint to sample box? I know you have some of these yourself, but can you answer the question of what was the first Porsche to offer the Leichtbau package, model type, year, and engine size? So far, I haven't seen the right answer come through. Fish Taco says, tell Jeff hi. I love it. If you guys can't guess, I'm going to maybe have to just throw it out there for you guys. Ron, I appreciate your comments and thanks for joining. You're very welcome. I hope your Taycan's doing well. Aria? Not trying to win another RS box. It sounds like I'm going to have to switch up my giveaways here for you guys. 87 RS 2.7. More hints. You know what? I have a photo of it. Maybe this will give it away. There is the car. So I'll give you guys maybe like another 30 seconds here to answer the question. And if I don't see it, unfortunately, the paint to sample will be staying here this time, but maybe I'll have to switch up the gift just because of sounds like some of you already have these paint to samples. Well, thank you, Aria. I appreciate it. 4-liter roof. So the answer is going to be a 964 Turbo S Leichtbau. That was the very first car to offer the Leichtbau package. Yellowbird, I love it. And there's only 86 of these cars ever produced, so incredibly rare. And the engine size was 3.3, a little bit different than the classic Bad Boys car. That was a 964 Turbo 3.6. So it looks pretty similar. These cars never came to the United States. You can tell by that rear side marker there. There's that little rear side indicator. Those are only European cars. United States cars did not come with those. So very, very rare car, but that was the answer. Let's go ahead and continue on here. Are there are, Aria. That's a great question. Yes, there are. He was asking if there's flat nose cars, and I've maybe seen one, but they're incredibly rare. Let's get back to the 992.2 GT3. So these are some of the chassis highlights. The front brake discs are increased to 36 millimeters. So that's because of the RS, and this is for the PCCBs. We've got the front lower trailing arms are more aerodynamic. I actually do have a photo for you guys. So this is from the new GT3 RS, but you can see kind of the shape here. It's more of a teardrop shape. So the side profile, it looks a lot more sleek from the last generation, as you can see there, now to the new generation, which they adopted from the GT3 RS. So it makes for a lot more aerodynamics. And you can see there's 90% less drag because of this teardrop section. Again, it's kind of this circled piece here. You can see how much better aerodynamics they've done that to that piece. The Touring also has specifically tuned suspension for the first time. Previous 2 generations, pretty much the exact same suspension. They've updated the bump stops. So you're going to notice some of these YouTubers are talking about the bump stops, especially as they're going around the track. So this is the ability. It doesn't. I wish I had a photo actually for you guys. I should have probably put one on here. But as the dampener is going up and down as you're taking the bumps, it's they've made it a little bit thicker so it doesn't hit up as hard, so you don't bottom out the dampener, and that has really improved, especially as you're taking curbs going around the track. So that's been a pretty big update that a lot of the guys are talking about, and has kind of increased the linear spring travel. So that's what we're talking about when it kind of goes up and down. This is some engineering talk here. So what are some more updates to the body? We already talked about those updated front fascia here, where you got the increased openings, updated rear end plates. We'll show you guys that. And then we got the ignition switch carried over from the last generation. And then, of course, there's our weights. So even less than the all the other cars. So down to 3239 and 3278. So you can see here, this is the same piece here as 992.1. The new cars kind of adopted it from the Taycan a little bit. Now I just have a push button start. If it's a 25, let's call it base 911. Then you can see these rear wing end plates here are in carbon fiber. Previously, they were like a soft plastic. And now we've got them on carbon fiber, of course, for the Weissach package. Interior, got some pretty big updates here, not necessarily as part of the car, but I'll show you guys here in a moment. We've got the optional Racetex upper dash. That's pretty much only been an RS thing up until now. Now we've got an all digital display, as you can kind of see here behind the writing. There's no analog part here to the tack anymore. We've got a 15 kilowatt charger and the carbon cage. I'm very, very happy about this. So Carson, if you're still on this live stream, when you're asking would I get the rear seats on the GT3 Touring, I would not, because I would get this. Excuse me, guys. I just got to pull it up here. So you can now get this as an option. So you've always been able to get this previously in Europe, but you've been able to get what's called the Club Sport package previously. Now we've got the Weissach package for the GT3, and it gives you the ability to have this carbon cage in the back. But again, it's never been in a US offering, and people have not been very pleased about it. They always have to get an aftermarket cage, GMG, Sharkworks. Now you can get this carbon cage. It's pretty pricey. We're talking about $30,000 carbon cage, but I'd probably throw that in the back of my GT3 Touring. So again, now you can order it here in the United States, have it installed. This pretty much comes with everything. So this is for all 992s. You can do it all the way back to 992 GT3, GT3 RS, and ST, but it's just so incredible how it looks. If you're paying, well over $300,000 for this car, 30 grand in the scheme of things isn't that much. So that's probably what I would do if I were to get the GT3. Let's see here. So let me stop sharing. So again, I'm very excited about the ability to get the carbon cage, and I'm seeing some more questions come through, but again, I will get to those once I'm done with this slideshow. So again, carbon cage, you can see the photo. We also have folding bucket seats we're going to talk about here in a moment. You can see on that little photo down there in the bottom right, we got the rear seats, which in previously GT3s, there was no rear seat option. And we have the folding carbon buckets. So a new generation of seats. The old gen came from 918, and we still had it up until the last generation GT3 RS and 911 ST. So it's pretty crazy. We finally got a folding bucket here in the United States. Now more about the powertrain. We've got updated final drive ratios. They've been shortened by 8%. So it's just going to kind of help the car be able to put down the power. New cam contours for longer valve opening times, especially when you're under load. And then here's our specs here: 502 horsepower, 8,500 RPMs, peak torque at 6250 of 331, and then in classic GT3 fashion since 991.1, we've got a 9,000 RPM rev, which is nuts. Now, another trivia question. Some of you may have seen these. I love these as well. This is a Porsche bottle opener. So this is pretty slick. It's a classic piece. Let me show you guys exactly what it looks like. I had some friends actually just get these here recently, but I still have about one or two of them. Looks very cool. Looks like a Porsche connecting rod, and it says Porsche Classic on it. And you can pop open the beer. Today probably would have been a good day for it, seeing that it was a Super Bowl, but that's up for grabs. So let's see, what is the trivia question? Porsche has offered the 911 GT3 in a touring package since introduction of 991.2. But what was the first 911 to offer a touring variant? Year and the engine size. So of course it was a 911, but what was the year and what was the car? So you guys want to maybe put that in the comments. You guys will be up for grabs. Yes, Jeff, we can confirm that I want a more tame road-going race car. That can be confirmed. So for those of you who are on, again, the question is, see if we can do this real quick again, make this question pop up. You know, we had these comments come in at the exact same time. So I'm going to be giving to this bottle opener to each of you. We've got Fish Taco. You nailed it. 1973 2.7 RS. So back in the day, there was the touring model for this car. So let's talk about it a little bit. In SPD Racer, I will be sending you one of these as well. So thank you for coming. I may have given it away because this popped up. But again, touring model, and there's also a sport model. These cars, you can actually tell there's going to be a difference. So there was only about 200 sport models ever produced. There's 1,580 total 2.7 RSs ever produced. Most of the other cars were the touring model, so it had a little bit more sound deadening. The sheet metal actually wasn't quite as thin. If you're looking at the cars from the outside at quick glance, quickest way to tell, see how this car has the chrome here on the back. This is a touring variant, which back in the day was a lot more desirable. Now it looks like these sport models are more desirable just because they only made about 200 cars. You can see here this rear bumper was actually made out of fiberglass. So this is a big difference here that you can tell just from looking at the rear. The sport model had lighter weight glass as well. It said that it's shaved about 18 ounces over the total weight of the car. So not a drastic amount, but it was about 3.5 millimeters thick. The touring model glass was about 4.5 millimeters thick. So just some weird geeky facts there for you about this car. But this was kind of the OG GT3 back in the day, was this 2.7 RS. So again, SPD Racer and Mr. Let's see, what was his name? Fish Taco on YouTube. You guys are going to be getting that. Yep. Cars, you nailed it, buddy. And then the silver trim, exactly. And the clock, Aria, I love it. That's huge. Yeah, on the inside of the touring model, there's a clock. On the sport model, there's going to be no clock there on the inside of the car. So I'm very impressed, Aria, that you know that. Very impressed. Let's see what else we've got here, guys. So again, We had 2 winners there, and I'll be sending those to you guys. And then we're almost wrapped up here. So, um, I talked about this earlier. Somebody was asking if I could build a GTS. So I spent so much time on this book. I'm very proud of it. I did create a digital guideline book that you guys can actually download. It kind of gives you A to Z on how I would recommend building my dream 911, whether it was 911, 911T. I'm in the process of adding Carrera S, almost done adding that to this book. For those of you who've already purchased it, this is going to be a free add to the book. And then we also got 911 GTS. So I cover all of those, talk about all the recommended options that I would recommend. And then I do highlight videos showing you how each option that I recommended, how it works, just to make sure that if you do decide you're going to spec that, that is something that you do truly want, just so you can see how it works before you get it. But again, that's going to be, I'll put the link down here below for you guys, so you can check that out. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. But it's as easy as going to Pcarwhisperer, and we've got the guideline book here. Actually, it's going to be right here on the first page. So I'll just put the link down here in the comments. Oh, thank you, SPD Racer. I forgot to share my screen. Sorry about that, guys. Slideshow. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that rear bumper there in the back. So sorry that I didn't have my screen being shared. But again, if you guys want to check out my book, I also put a discount code there. We got 20% off. If you guys are on this live stream, 911 Dream, since it is crafting your dream 911 again, 911T base, S is about to be added, and GTS. So let's talk about GT3. Any other questions you guys have? I'm going to go back through some of these questions let's just have a discussion about anything Porsche. Again, I liked to talk about the GT3. Let's see. Ron, thank you. Yes, if you guys could give a thumbs up, that helps kind of get this video out there, as people will be watching this not only today, but that will also be watching it, maybe at later times, not part of the live stream, not joining me here. Looks like Travis Kelce proposed to Taylor Swift. That's kind of off topic, but it's maybe a good highlight. Just did a 650-mile road trip to Sedona in the Taycan. Smooth travels. Saw German engineers in Kingdom, Arizona with a 2025 Taycan. I'm kind of eager to see. That's awesome. Yeah, they definitely do a lot of test trip miles, and I'm so happy you saw them out there. Are dealers accepting crypto? I've heard of some dealers in the past accepting dealer, not necessarily a Porsche store, but I have heard that some dealers have accepted crypto in the past. Not yet. But of course, there's been a lot of stuff coming out in the crypto world, so maybe it's very possible that at some point they will be accepting it. Omar, thanks for joining. Looks like you're live with us here on Instagram. So hopefully you guys learned something as part of the GT3 history, some of the engineers, all the different generations, and what kind of came to some of each generations of, again, PASM 997, PCCBs 996. So again, it's all very exciting stuff for us here in the Porsche world with this new GT3. Again, I know there's a lot of really good videos out there, seen through glass. I know Haggerty did one. Who else do we have? I don't think Chris Harris has done one yet, but there's some pretty good ones. Savage Geese. If you guys haven't checked those guys out, all those guys are really good for the most part on YouTube. So again, if you guys want to put any of your questions down in the comments, we will cover them. If not, then we'll just catch you guys on the next one. I like these to last almost an hour. We've been at about for 45 minutes already. But if you guys, again, have any questions, we'll stay on here for a couple more minutes, maybe have some discussion and kind of go from there. Not seeing too much else kind of on this live stream here. I appreciate all of you that have joined me. Looks like we got 3 on Instagram and another 12 on YouTube. Taycan Force with 98,000 miles, total charging 36,000. Wow, total kilowatts, $150 total charging fee, free AA. Lots of solar from charging, plenty of road trips. That's great to hear, Ron. Haven't heard of anybody having that many miles on their Taycan, and glad to see it's still doing well, especially 36,000 total kilowatts. That's nuts. So for those of you who don't know, the Taycan, that his generation had a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery. So he has charged it a tremendous amount of times, and it's still going strong. And you can see he's only paid $555, which is incredible. Over, if I remember, Ron, you have a 2020 Taycan, so that's nuts. And Fish Taco, you're very welcome. So thank you for joining me. Let's see if we got anything else. Cars, great question, buddy. We're going to Car Week. Don't have any plans to. Have a lot of other trips planned for this year, so unfortunately, I will not be going to Car Week this year. Maybe next year. I know that's a big one that I've never been to that I really need to go to. Oh yeah, I met a guy from Boulder who races an original 73 RSR. Cool to read into early sports purpose stuff. Still, unfortunately, haven't seen an original ST, which is the dream. Yeah, I'm with you. To see an original ST would be pretty nuts. Sure, Rensport Reunion, they pop around from time to time. There's not very many of them, but I'm sure there's at least one. And then it looks like Fish Taco has a question there for Ron. Is he planning on keeping the car long term? So maybe just put it down there. Correct, 2020 with the Experience Center delivery, which I highly recommend anyway getting a new Porsche. Yes, I highly recommend going to the Porsche Experience Center as well. They're actually bringing back their morning shift car show. So if you guys are going to morning shift, I will actually be there this next Sunday. Starts at 9, goes to about 11 a.m. So you guys, if you guys see me there, maybe swing by and say hi. But I'll be there walking around. I know there's also going to be Jeff Swart there, Patrick Long. So there's going to be some pretty cool stuff. It's all about air cooled cars. But I will again be there. That's going to be 216. And it is going to be at 9 to 11. So those of you, again, that are in the LA area, maybe you can swing by. I'd love to meet you guys in person, share our Porsche passion. And again, it's going to be 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can get there earlier, but you probably won't be let in any earlier than that. But again, you guys want to check it out. Porsche Experience Center, Carson, morning shift, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So we got anything else here on Instagram? Cars, I would love for you to go down, buddy. Be great to see you. So maybe come on down. And if you want, maybe shoot me a text here once the live stream's over. If you decide you do want to come down, I still need to get myself up to Santa Barbara to come see you at some point. SPD Racer, I appreciate it. If you don't mind actually sending me an email, I know you've won some stuff in the past, but just go ahead and send me an email with your information just to make sure I have it updated, and I will get you over this bottle opener that I have here for you. And if that's about it, looks like we got Ron here. No plans given with the Taycan. Combination of not really liking the look of the facelift and the residuals. Yep. Again, if you guys don't have any other Porsche questions, we'll probably end up logging off here of the live stream. But I thank you everyone for your guys' support. Supposed to be filming a pretty big video I'm very excited about. Supposed to be last week, but it'll be about a week and a half out. It's going to be a 911 ST versus GT3 RS. We haven't seen anything like that. So stay tuned for that, but I'm very excited about this video and my friend that's allowing me to borrow his cars actually for the day. So I'm incredibly blessed to be able to have that opportunity. So thank you. But yeah, so be on the lookout. It's probably going to be about a month away, but once I get it all edited and everything, but very exciting video to be working on. Any cool CXX options for the new ST? That's a great question. I haven't I haven't seen anything. Trying to think if I've seen any cool CXX options that I think are memorable. Maybe some illuminated special one-off door sills, but I wouldn't see anything crazy that I've seen. Mason Riggins, what's happening, my man? Excited that you joined the live stream. Hope you're having a good weekend. C4S, hopefully that'll be released as well. I'm sure hoping so. Wouldn't be surprised if it is. But again, I thank everyone for joining me on this live stream. Actually have quite a few people on here. So again, if you guys have any Porsche questions, throw them out there, either on Instagram or if you guys are joining me on YouTube. This is actually a great question. Ride quality, I can definitely feel the difference on 992.2. Does feel a little bit softer. I like the way it drives. I don't think it's as loud as the previous generation, so the sound levels are definitely reduced over the previous generation. You heard a lot of burbles, especially when you downshifted the car for 992.1. This new 992.2 doesn't sound near as loud, even with the sport exhaust. So that's the only thing that I've noticed is drastically different, is just the sound. So hopefully, people are maybe going to be putting some aftermarket exhausts on there to do that. And join your local PCA. I'm 100% with you, Ron. Definitely need to do that. Cabin noise seems less, to be honest. It definitely seems less than 992.1. There's not as much. Now, 992.2 Carrera T may be different, but so far the Carrera is certainly less than the previous generation. Happy to hear. I love it. What is your take on your exhaust sounds? Since you have a sport exhaust, maybe after the car's maybe broken in a little bit, maybe it is a little bit louder. Of course, still sounds incredible. Okay, that's great to hear. I'm glad it's maybe louder than some of the cars I drove. Some of the cars I drove didn't have very many miles on them, so of course maybe once the car gets broken in, it definitely could increase the sound a little bit. And if you guys don't have anything else, maybe you guys have r- any type of recommendations here for any of these live streams. First time I've been able to successfully do it here on Instagram. But if you guys have any other type of suggestions, maybe things you'd like to see as part of these live streams, I would love for you guys to put them in the comments, whether it's on Instagram or here on YouTube, so I can keep making these better. Would you guys maybe at some point would like to see other people join me on these live streams? I'm just curious because I want to make them as beneficial for all of you as I can. Maybe put it down in the comments. If you're joining me live, great. If not, I will check the comments after my live stream is over. If you guys just don't mind putting those in the comments, any of maybe your recommendations for the live streams. That's awesome. That makes me happy. All right, yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome if I could get on there. I would love to talk cars uh, with them. So maybe if you can at some point do a shout out to those guys, I would love to join them for any type of discussions. So thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope your dad's doing well as well. I feel like I haven't seen you guys for a while, so Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to see that you haven't seen from me in the past on these live streams or anything in the video? Thinking about making some more after sales guides, maybe to help some people. But if you don't mind putting it in the comments, that would be great. You're welcome. Again, please send me an email so I can get you your bottle opener, and hope you get some good rest because it's definitely getting late over there on the East Coast. What are we, 8? So we're 11 p.m. So again, thanks for joining me on such a late live stream. I appreciate it. And then again, if you guys have any other questions, maybe just put them down there. But I think we're probably going to sign off. But just please put them in the comments. Anybody either joining us on live stream or after this has been filmed. It's great to hear, Aria. It sounds like Target's still doing great. Ryan, how are you? So you just joined here on Instagram. And then we'll be seeing you on Sunday. So very excited about that. But I guess that's pretty much it for the live stream. We've been on here for about an hour. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday evening. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Podcast. Me and Mike are supposed to be filming one here very soon. So hope to see you guys in the next set of videos that we're filming, or even this 911 ST GT3 RS video. So again, if you have any recommendations, again, just please put them down in the comments. I try to read every single one. So hope you guys will have a great Sunday evening. And again, we'll see you in the next video.